everybody. As Sarah said, my name is Matthew Pittman. I am one of the instructional designers with the Center for Instructional Technology, and I will be walking you through some Google Docs training, Google Drive training. I just actually joined the Center for Instructional Technology in August, so I'm fairly new to their team, but I've been using Google Docs, Google Drive for a long time. Prior to joining their team, I was an online technology coordinator in Region 2, so I managed Blackboard support in Region 2. So I'm a pretty technical person, and I hope that as we go through this today, if you have any questions, you definitely feel free to jump in and ask questions. If you want to dive deeper in anything, let me know. While my team that I'm part of here at Central Office gives me a lot of credit for being a Google guru. Everything I've learned, I've just learned through playing with it. So you may ask something that I don't know the answer to, but we can definitely play with it and see how it works. And I do have some resources for getting more training at the end of this. You can do independently, or if anyone's interested in a closer look at a particular piece of the Google Docs suite, I'm happy to do that as well. So that's it for introductions. The first thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and again, if you have questions we're going through this, just feel free to jump in and ask them. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is, what is Google Docs? A lot of people, they talk about Google Docs or they talk about Google Drive, and they sort of use those terms interchangeably, but they are technically different products. So I do want to try to, at least at the beginning here, differentiate between what is a Google Docs tool and what is Google Drive. Okay, so we'll start with what is Google Docs. Well, Google Docs is sort of synonymous for the suite of applications that Google offers that are very similar to applications I'm sure you all use in your everyday working environments, which would be Microsoft Office. Okay, Google Docs itself is the word processing application that Google provides, and it's called Google Docs, and you can see that there. It's equivalent to Microsoft Word. And actually, the document that we're looking at right now on my screen is a Google Doc. And you can identify it as a Google Doc because it has this blue icon with 3 or 4 white lines here sort of indicating text. Okay, so this is a Google Docs. You'll notice in other documents, such as Google Sheets, which is their equivalent to Excel, this will be a different color. It will actually be green. And we'll look at a Google Sheet here in a little bit. So Google Sheets is the second application in their kind of Office suite, the Google Office suite. And it's called Google Sheets, and it works very much like Excel. You have a workbook of different worksheets, and you can analyze data. It has many of the same functions and capabilities of Microsoft Excel. The third one then is Google Slides. And that is equivalent essentially to PowerPoint. Many of the same features and functionality is found in Google Slides as is in PowerPoint. And those are the 3 main pieces of the Google Office suite. They don't have an equivalent to Access, which is the Microsoft Access, which is like the database program for Microsoft Office. They don't have an equivalent of that in Google Docs, but they do have a different tool which is somewhat similar called Google Forms. And Google Forms actually works with Google Sheets to collect data. You can actually create a really quick form, a simple form that you can send to people. They can fill the form out. They click submit, and it dumps all of that data into a spreadsheet that you can then analyze. So it's somewhat similar in functionality to a form in a database. I'm going to actually walk you through what each of these looks like. So I just wanted to give an overview, though, of the difference between Docs and Drive. So kind of understanding then that Google Docs is sort of the Google Office suite. What is Google Drive? Well, Google Drive is their cloud storage platform. If you've ever used something like Dropbox, OneDrive from Microsoft, Box, or Cloud Drive from Amazon, or iCloud from Apple, which I didn't list here, that's essentially what Google Drive is doing. Google Drive is just cloud storage space that you can store many different types of files. You can store all of your Google files, which would include the docs, the sheets, the slides, and the forms. But you can also store regular Word documents. You can store PDF documents. You can store images. All of that can be uploaded into your Google Drive area. Google Drive has a particular storage amount that's free, and I believe, if I remember correctly, you get 15 gigabytes for free. So I'm looking at my Google Drive interface right now, and in the bottom left corner I can see how much space I've used and how much space is left. So right now I've used 6% of my overall 15 gigabytes. I've used almost approaching 1 gigabyte worth of space. And the really cool thing about Google Docs is that when you create a document in Google Doc form, so like this document we're looking at right now, they actually don't count the size of that document against your overall space. So this document right now is not counting against my 15 gigabytes. Only documents that I store that are not part of, are not a Google document, count against my overall storage space. And that's kind of a cool feature. In programs like Dropbox, which is a very common cloud storage platform similar to Google Drive, you get much less space, and every document in it counts against your total quota. Whereas in Google, any of the native Google formats don't count against your total. So that's kind of a nice benefit of using the actual native, Google Doc form or the Google Sheet form format versus actually just uploading a Word document or an Excel document. So cloud storage lets you take your files, put them online. They're accessible from any computer or any device with internet access. Google Drive actually has some pretty nifty Android and iOS applications, so you can actually access all of your Google Docs on your iPhone or your your Samsung Android phone, any of those devices, or tablets. If you have a tablet, a Galaxy Tab or an iPad, you can access all your documents through them as well. And most of the time, those can interface with like your email program, so you can attach files to your email program using Google Drive. It has a lot of cool functionality with those as well. So you can pretty much store anything on here, just keeping in mind that you have a 15 gigabyte limit, which is actually quite large. So for normal documents and stuff, you're not going to really hit that limit very quickly. I've been using this account for several years now, and I'm only at 6%. And that doesn't go up very quickly because most of what I create, like this document we're looking at, are in the native Google format. When we get into creating documents, I'm going to show you exactly how you can share files. But one of the nice parts about Google Drive is there's a lot of different ways you can share files. If I create a Word document like this, I can share it with all of you if I want by clicking on this share button. And right now you can actually see it's currently shared with one other person. I shared it with Sarah. And I gave Sarah edit options. But as you can see, when I look at the share option, I have different options for sharing. I can share it with view-only access, so that when they pull this up, they can only see it. They can't edit it or change it. I can actually share with comment access, and comment access is sort of like the comment feature in Word, where you can actually come in here and add comments to the document. You can't change the document itself, but you can add comments or feedback. Okay, and those are visible through the comment section. Okay, right now there are no comments. And also, I can give edit permission like I did with Sarah. So Sarah could actually log into this document and edit it, change the text, delete things, add things. And the really cool part about Google Docs compared to either your typical Word file is that everyone can be on editing this document at the same time. So, Sarah could be in here at the same time I'm presenting it and edit things, type things, and I can edit things and type things, and it's all done in real time. So as you can see, Sarah's here typing in the document, and we can see it's Sarah because it has her name there. And you can see at the top her picture shows up, and if she didn't have a picture, it would show just a little silhouette there. So it's actually quite cool because we can work in the document at the same time. It's very collaborative for folks that need to work together on one document. So that's some of the major advantages of using Google Docs compared to just a typical Word document. You don't end up having 13 versions of the same file that you then have to try to consolidate down to one version. So at that point, there's a lot of other things I'm going to talk about later on that are at the bottom of this, but I want to kind of jump over and show you, the features of a Google document and Google Drive. So are there any questions before I do that? Okay, Well, not hearing any then, I'm going to go ahead and jump over here. So to do any of this, you do need a Google account. So you'll have to go to, create a Google account. You can do that by creating an account on Gmail or going to Drive and creating an account or going onto YouTube and creating an account. All those are owned by Google, and you're creating a Google account when you do so. At Ivy Tech, as a student you have a Google account, but as a faculty member you don't, so you'd have to create
one. Well, Matthew, so that was a question that in the past, I would try and do things on Google, and I'd put in my Ivy Tech email, and it thinks I have an account, but I don't really. So the things that I've done recently through Google Drive or through my personal email, so is that going to be our only choice as faculty? We're not going to be able to use our Ivy Tech emails to set it up?
Correct. You're going to have to create, you won't be able to just log in with your Ivy Tech credentials. Students can, because we've switched the student email system to use Google, but currently the faculty are still on the Exchange system using Outlook. So until they make that change, then yeah, you'd have to create a separate account.
Sure.
So for instance, my account for Google is actually it is my Ivy Tech email, so it's mpitman2.itcc@gmail.com. And that's what I use for my work related stuff. So this is the account we're looking at right now in Google Drive is my Ivy Tech Gmail account. It's obviously not officially an Ivy Tech account, but it's how I differentiate between my personal Google account. So yeah, you'd have to go out and create an account through Gmail. And the one thing with sharing that I was discussing back here is if I share a document with someone, if I want them to be able to edit or comment, I have to share it with someone that has a Google account. So that might answer your question. You can, if someone sends you a sharing link to your Ivy Tech email address and you try to log in, it's not going to let you edit that document or view that document because you have to have an actual Google account to be able to log in. So when Sarah's logging in here and you see her in here editing the document, she's logging in with her Google account, not her Ivy Tech account. And that's true of anyone at any institution, unless they're using Google as their email provider or account provider. Then you have to share it with a Gmail account if you want them to be able to edit it. There's other options for sharing, and I'll talk about that in a minute, how you can kind of get around that. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, that's what we needed to know.
Okay, great. Once you've created an account, and I'm not going to walk through those steps, it's pretty straightforward. You can go to Google Drive, and to get to Google Drive, the easiest way is, you can go into any of the Google sites, and you'll see this little icon here at the top that has the 9 little squares. You can click on that. It'll show you all the different major Google tools, and then you can click more to view more. Then you can click on Drive, and that'll take you to Google Drive. Alternatively, I always like to just, what is the address? And you can type in drive.google.com. So it's drive.google.com. You don't need the www. You're putting drive in instead of the www. And that'll actually take you straight there as well. So any of those options will get you to Google Drive. Again, that's the cloud storage. That's where all of the Google documents you create will be placed. Okay. You can create a Google document when you're in Google Drive by simply clicking New. It's a big red button at the top left. You click on New. You'll see several options. You can create folders to organize your content. So, for instance, I have folders here. I have an Ivy Tech folder, a personal folder, working files. I have different folders here. You can color code them if you want to make it more meaningful to you. That's also kind of a nice function. If you like color coding things, you can do that. You can add new documents. So this would be a Word document. You can add new sheets, which would be like an Excel document, or a Google slide. Okay, this would be if you want to input something that is brand new. So I want to create a brand new Google document. All I'd have to do is click this button right here. So I'll do that, and you'll see it pops me open into a Google document. Looks very much like the one we were in, except it's blank. I can tell it's Google Documents because it has the blue icon over here. Right now it says it's an untitled document, but as you can see, this interface is very similar to, I'm going to say it's similar to Office, but maybe a few versions back. It doesn't have the ribbon at the top like Office does. It has more of the standard toolbar with File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Tools, Table, all that kind of stuff. But you can do pretty much anything you can do in Word here in Google Documents. Okay, you can type text.
Can
You
also,
yeah.
There were options that said upload. Can you upload a Word document right into it and edit a Word document?
Yep, I'm going to show that in just a second. Yep. So it has all the basic formats of what you would want to do. When you're done with it, you actually can just close it. The first time you create one, you probably want to give it a name, and the easiest way to give it a name is where it says the name of the document. You can just click on that actually, and it pops up and lets you rename it. So test doc. Hit enter, it renames it. And the nice part is you don't have to save this. You do not have to go file, save. Okay. In fact, you'll notice there is no save option on here. That's because it is in the cloud. It's automatically saving every time you make a change. So as you make changes, if something happens to your computer, goes off or something, whatever was the last thing you did has already been saved. So you can see here it says all changes saved in Drive. So if I make more changes, you can see it's saving it as I'm doing it. Okay. And one of the cool things about Google Drive is, much like a wiki, you can actually go back and review different revisions of the document. Now this document, I've typed it all in one go, so it's only showing one revision, but if I go back to this one, you can see the last edit was made 7 minutes ago by Sarah Prophet. And if I click on that, you'll actually see what I did. Okay, it's all highlighting green because I typed all that. And then Sarah, because she's removed what she did, it would normally show what she edited here in a different color. So you can actually restore revisions. So if you see something happened, it went wrong, and I want to restore it, I can click restore this revision, and it'll undo everything above that. Okay, so it's actually kind of cool because you could actually go pretty far back in the revisions and make changes. So that's a neat function that you don't have in your traditional, Word system. Now I won't lie to you. It doesn't have every single thing that you can do in Word. Okay, there are certainly things you may find that it doesn't do. It's not going to keep. It doesn't have a bibliography feature or something like that, more of the advanced features in Word. But all the basic stuff is here for creating, your standard Google document, your standard word process documents. It can do bulleted lists, you can do line spacing, you can insert images, hyperlinks, you can do bookmarks. It will do table of contents. You can format things. Right now it's normal text. I can make it a title. It has headings just like Word does, so you can format your document that way. Obviously lots of different fonts, colors, and different things like that. You can add tables, and as you can see it has spell check. It can define things for you and all that kind of stuff. So it is pretty powerful, and as you asked, yes, you can definitely upload documents. So I'm actually just gonna pick a random document. I don't know exactly what's on it, so that'll be interesting. And so I've on my desktop, I just clicked and held down on a document, and you can see I'm pulling it over here onto the thing, and it says incoming. Drop your files to instantly upload them to Drive. I just let go, and my file's uploaded. Now notice the difference though. This is the document we just created, and it has that icon I told you was associated with Google Docs. Okay, but notice this has a W. That's showing you this is actually a Word document, and it's in Word document format. Okay, if I click on it, it's going to open it like in preview mode. Okay, so it's sort of showing me like a PDF. This is showing me this is what's in the document currently. If I want to open it and edit it in Google Docs, then I just have to click this little blue icon right here, okay, to open it. If I do that, it'll convert it to a Google Doc format rather than a Word format, and you'll see I have the document in Google Docs, and I can edit it. And at this point, I can share it with other people, so I could share it with Sarah. I would just type in her email address, select her from the list, and hit send. She would get an email saying she can edit it. Okay, Again, I have the options of sending edit access, comment access, or view access. If I send view access, then they can open this document to look at it, but they can't edit it. Okay?
Can it also open PDFs?
Yeah. Yep. Let me see if I have a PDF on here I can show you. You can't edit them in here, but you can view them. So I can upload a PDF, which I just did. And you can see the PDF right here, so I can view it. Okay, and then I could download it to my computer. If I wanted to save it as local copy, I could print it. I could share it with people. And then depending on what you do, there are other tools which I'm going to get into later, third-party tools you can connect with Google Drive that would actually let you edit the PDF, but they're not like default Google tools. They're like other vendors that work with Google Drive to allow you to do some of that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. So you can share, like I said, any kind of file. I'm going to go ahead and remove this because that's actually a contract. So you can also notice, though, that when I edited this Word document in Google Drive, it actually created a copy of it as a Google Drive document. Okay. Now, when you upload documents to Google Drive, you can set it in the settings to automatically convert them into this format so that it wouldn't upload this as a Word document first. So you can skip that step. It just kind of depends on, do I want to have it as a Word document, or sometimes have them as Word documents, or do I want them always to be automatically converted into Word or Excel into the Google format? Okay, so that's why there's that extra step, and you see 2 copies of the file. I have mine set up because sometimes we actually do share out Word format documents rather than Google Drive format documents, so I don't want it to automatically convert it. But you can set it up so it does automatically convert everything into the Google format. So as I said, there's other types of documents you can create as well. You can create sheets, so I can create a new spreadsheet, and you'll see it looks pretty much like Excel. The difference is you start off with only 1 sheet at the bottom instead of 3. I believe Microsoft Office, when you create a new Excel document, it starts with 3 sheets, but you can easily add new sheets as you want, and then you can have all the same options as Excel has. One of the kind of cool things about this, though, is instead of having, you can just keep infinitely scrolling out as many rows and columns as you need, is you can actually customize this to be only the number of rows and columns you want. So if I only want this through column K, I can actually delete columns L through Z, and notice that the document doesn't continue adding more columns at the end. Okay, so it's not going to go on forever. You can actually customize the spreadsheet to the size that you actually want it to be, rather than going out all the way out to the end. Same thing with the number of rows. I think for some reason I have mine set up to have like 1,000 rows, but I can add more rows at the bottom. Clicking this button would add another 1,000 rows, or I can have it add 10 rows, whatever I want it to do. And so it's kind of cool because you can customize it down to the size you actually need. It has many of the same basic features as Excel. You can view, you can do functions, so I can do sums, I can do ifs, I can do counts, all those normal functions that are in Excel if you're into using Excel. Most of them exist here. I will say not all of them do. I'm a pretty heavy user of Excel, and there's been a few very specific functions I found that either work a little differently in Google Sheets or are not present. But usually there's something else you can do to get around that. So it has all the basic format and function of Excel that Excel does. And as I said, it has a different icon here in the upper left. This is the Sheets icon. It looks like a little spreadsheet, and it has a green background. The last one then is Google Slides. Google Slides is the PowerPoint kind of equivalent, and as you can see, it looks very much like that. It has a number of themes that you can select that are, maybe some of them are different than Word, some are not. You can import PowerPoints. I don't have one just sitting here on the desktop that I can import, but you can import a PowerPoint into here. So maybe I'll do a lesson plan, for the theme. And so it pops in the theme, and then I can just fill it out just like I would a slideshow, slide presentation in PowerPoint. You can actually present it through here as well. I can click present, and it turns it into full screen mode and I'm presenting. Now this isn't very interesting because I only have the one slide and there's no text on it, but you can see that it works just like Google, just like PowerPoint does, just like Microsoft PowerPoint. And again, the cool thing is I can share this. Sarah and I could be working together, or a group of students could be working together to develop a PowerPoint in real time, collaboratively, which is really cool. And again, this is one thing, I've taught at Ivy Tech for a long time, and one of the things that I've done in classes quite often is have students create presentations in groups, and this is one way they can kind of do that collaboratively without having just the PowerPoint on one computer and everybody's kind of swapping out or trying to combine versions. This allows them all to do it in one place, and that's kind of a cool feature as well. This has all the basic features that PowerPoint has, and you can add notes at the bottom for presentation mode and things like that. So like I said, you can basically do anything in Office in Google Docs. It has all the basic same tools. Are there any questions about those specific tools before I talk a little bit more about sharing and then kind of show you some of the other features?
No, it seems very user-friendly.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like I said, it's very similar to what the interface you'd see in, some of the older versions of Word, not the newest version that has more of the ribbon, thing at the top, but it's very similar to, a basic program, has all the same features. So one thing I kind of wanted to talk about was sharing, because I've kind of alluded to how you can share, but I kind of want to talk a little bit more deeply about it, because there's actually a lot of different ways you can share documents in Google Drive. So what I'm in right now is just this Google document overview that I created, and I'm going to go ahead and click the share button, and it's always in the top right, it's always blue, and so I'm going to go ahead and click that. This is the real basic, interface for sharing, okay? But you can actually click Advanced to see the full options, and the nice part about Advanced is it'll also show you who all has access to a particular document. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Advanced, and you can see right now, okay, at the top, it gives me the link that I would want to send to people that they would need to use to access the document. It gives me a list of who currently has access to it. For instance, it shows here I am, and it shows that I'm the owner. It shows Sarah, and that she can edit the document. And it says here, specific people can access the document, but there's a change button. And if I click on that change button, you'll see I actually have different options. I don't have to only share this with specific people whose email addresses I typed in. Okay, I can actually change this, and there's 3 options. Okay, by default, every document you create is private. Only you can view it. Okay, and if you just type in someone's email address, it will continue to be private. It'll just be private with only the people that you've specified can view or edit or comment on it. Okay. However, there are a couple of other options. Okay, if you want to create a document that anyone with the link can access, so that means they don't have to sign into Google Docs to access the document, then you would click this middle option. Okay, so if I select this, then I can send this link, okay, to anyone, email address that I have. They don't have to have a Google account, and by default, they'll be able to open and view that document, even though they're not logged in using Google. Okay. I can also choose to allow them to comment, okay, or I can allow them to edit this document, okay. If I allow this, okay, if I allow anyone that has this link to edit the document, then what you'll find, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save, okay, and I'm going to take this address here at the top, whoops, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into the chat box. So that should pop up in your chat box in GoToMeeting. If any of you were to click on that link and access this document, you should be able to access it without actually logging into Google Docs, and you would be able to edit it. But when you log in and edit, or when you access it and edit it, it's only going to show me anonymous edits. It won't tell me who made the edit. So right now, when I look at this document and the revision history, I can see Sarah made changes and Matt made changes, okay? But if I allow anyone to edit it and then they don't have to log in, then it's only going to say anonymous user edited this, anonymous user edited this, okay? It's not going to give me the specific information on who did what, all right? So that's kind of the difference between sharing it as a private document.
Can you still hear us?
I'm sorry? Was there a question? I missed it.
Oh, there's the doohickey.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, there you're back.
Now you're back. We lost you for a little bit.
Okay. So now I can see someone's in here editing the document. In the top right, you can see it says an anonymous sheep is editing my document. It randomly populates that with an animal name. And some of them aren't even animals. I've seen it say unicorn before. So you know, it varies what it puts up there. So as you can see, you can access and edit the document. This is actually really cool. Some uses I've seen for this is in a classroom setting, opening up a document, you know, if you're in a computer lab, giving out the link to everyone in the class, students can get in and you can, you know, brainstorm up really cool ideas, quickly generate lists of things in class or work on things in class. And people don't have to log in. They don't have to have a Google account to log in and do the edits. But just keep in mind, you know, again, now I'm seeing last edit was made by Anonymous, okay? And as you can see, and this is kind of what I was hoping for earlier, it shows that the edit was made, the blue edit is right here. And if I want to go back to Sarah's revision, I can actually just click this, and as you can see, it removes where you guys typed cool. Okay, so it's kind of cool because you can go back through the revisions and restore things. So if anybody were to mess up your document, you can go back through and restore it to the last version that was still good. So that's sharing. There is one other option for sharing, although I rarely ever use it. And if I go back in here, it would just be on public. This actually means that people can, like, you know, find your document by just searching on the internet. They don't have to have the link to find it. And so that might be useful, you know, in specific instances, but I find that, you know, for my uses, I've never actually used this option. I tend to do the anyone with the link if I want to get other people in on the document that aren't, you know, going to be using Google to help me edit it. So those are kind of the different options. Are there questions about that? And it doesn't have to be edit. I could change it and just give you guys view access, which means you could see the document, but you wouldn't be able to edit the document. You would just be able to view it. So are there any questions about the sharing feature or how that works?
Is the school going to be concerned about, you know, we want to use this maybe in developing our courses and, you know, working together statewide with these large teams? Is the school going to be concerned about us posting things on the Google Drive, even if we just make it available to Ivy Tech faculty? Do you think there's going to be an issue?
Well, I don't believe the school has a specific statement about use of, you know, cloud storage devices. I know the IT department is at central office is officially, you know, looking at several options, including Google Drive for cloud storage. And this kind of feature. I would say depending on what you're putting on Google Drive, they may or may not care. Obviously, anything that would be, you know, related to FERPA, you probably wouldn't want to put on Google Drive. And if you did, it would need to be locked down. You know, sharing only. You know, as I showed earlier, only.
Right.
Only people with specific, you know, access can get in there.
Yeah, we were thinking more. You know, we signed copyright agreements.
Right.
Type things. Just wanted to make sure.
So, you know, it depends on kind of what you're sharing. You know, anything that, you know, you would feel, you know, weird about putting out on a download site, you probably wouldn't want to throw it in Google Drive and make it available to anyone with the link. Because if you make it available to anyone with the link, then, you know, all I have to do is, you know, see the link on someone else's screen, type it in on mine, and I have access to it. If you lock it down and make it so that everyone has to log in, which is how this was originally set up, then this is essentially just like sharing a file any other way. It's pretty secure. It's not going to be able to be, you know, without someone stealing your credentials, they're not going to be able to view it or access it. So, you know, if that's a concern, you know, and most of the documents that we use at Central Office, because we use this extensively, and I can kind of show you that. You know, just in the Center for Instructional Design, we have all these folders full of data about classes and stuff. All of it's shared on Google Drive, and so like this document is status reports from developers and things like that. We put all of this on here. We just share it among ourselves though, so that we know it's pretty secure and we don't have to worry about any kind of information being taken that shouldn't be. So, other questions? Let me make my way back to my outline here. So those are kind of the options for sharing. Again, I always recommend that, when you share files, you don't want to give more permissions than are required. So, if you're only going to be working with, 3 other people, then it probably makes sense just to have each one of them have a Google account, and then they can, you can share it out with just those 3 people, and then there's no issue with other people getting access. But if you're going to use it like in a course, then you can definitely use the share with anyone with the link. You can put the link in Blackboard. Students can click on it. They can access it, collaborate. I have seen it used in a couple of statewide courses. CPIN 239, Computers and Informatics 239 class has it as an option for students for their group project, because it's obviously a great tool for groups and collaboration. So it's in that class pretty heavily for their assignments. In fact, one of their assignments requires they create a Google slide presentation and turn it in. It is already out there in some statewide courses as well. There's a lot of other tools that you can access through your Google account, and specifically through Google Drive. So if I go back to Google Drive here, under the New button, there's more than just these 3 options and folders. There's actually a lot more. I'm going to talk about Google Forms. That'll be the last thing I talk about because it's kind of cool. But I just kind of want to mention there's other tools. Google Drawings is sort of like a simple drawing program or image editing program. I haven't used it very much, so I'm no kind of expert about Google Drawings. I view it as very similar to something like a Microsoft Paint. It's pretty simple. This is not Photoshop. You're not going to be, doing anything like that in here, but it's pretty simple for editing images and can be pretty useful. There's also Google Fusion Tables, which lets you create some pretty nice graphs and stuff. The graph features in standard Google Sheets are pretty limited, but Google Fusion Tables gives you some more options for creating, interesting graphs and charts for that. And in addition, you can actually create and connect to a lot more apps than this. This is where I was kind of talking, and you guys were asking about PDFs. There's lots of other different options here that you can connect to, better drawing programs that give more features, mind maps. So if you're interested in concept or mind maps, there's mind map programs that you can connect to. You can see if you use Zoho can directly connect to this. There's also Google Apps script, so you can actually write some scripts if you know programming. So there's all sorts of different features. PDF merges, so you can actually merge separate PDFs into one through Google Drive, which is kind of cool. So like I said, there's really like a lot of different things you can do on here. If it doesn't have the one thing you need by default, you can usually go find a really quick other app you can add into Google Drive that will do what you want to do. Okay, so lots of PDF converters, PDF to Word converter, PDF viewer, so there's lots of different options that you can do here. Splitting PDFs also something that's sometimes pretty useful in Google, so even some SQL stuff, which I didn't know. That's kind of cool. So there's lots of other apps you can connect and use in Google Drive as well. If it's not meeting your needs just by default, there's probably something that you can add to it. Or if there's an app that you really like to use, chances are they might have a connection here that allows you to import that directly into your Google Drive documents or other things. So that's kind of the overview of other apps you can connect. The last thing then that I kind of want to show, since we have some time, is Google Forms. Google Forms is probably one of my favorite tools in in Google Drive or Google Docs suite because it allows you to create really simple forms. So if you've ever used like SurveyMonkey or one of the other many survey tools, that's essentially what Google Forms lets you do. So when you create a new form, much like when you create a new Word document, it's basically asking you to, add form elements. So when I come in here at the top, I see some settings, and then here's my form. I can give it a title. So we can call this a test form. Okay, I can give it a description. This form. Google Docs training. Okay, and then I can start entering questions. Okay, and I have lots of different question types you can use through here. You can do text questions where they enter, like a couple of words or a sentence. You can do paragraph text where they enter, more like essay style. You can do multiple choice, check boxes. You can make them choose from a list. You can do a scale, so if you want to do like a Likert type thing, you can do that. You can do grids where it has like rows and columns, and they're selecting a bubble for each row. They're selecting from a column of options. You can have them pick a date or a time. So we'll start with a multiple choice question. So maybe my question I'm going to ask, what is your favorite? Google Docs app. Okay, so what is my favorite Google Docs app? And I'm going to say my options are Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, or Google Forms. Or if I want, I can add an other choice, which allows them to just type something in. So I've given 4 options, and I've added the 5th option is other, and they can type an answer. I can make this a required question. And, I can just make this done. I can just say I'm done with that question. This is what it would look like. And then when I'm ready, I can just click View Live Form. Okay. And this is what the form would look like. This is pretty basic. Obviously, it's got one question and no really interesting information. But it's pretty easy to do. I can click Google Forms as my favorite. I can hit Submit, and my response has been recorded. Okay. I can actually share this pretty easily. I can take this, I can go to the live form again, and I can take this link and I can paste it in the chat box. And if one of you wanted to click on that and submit it, then we'll get more additional responses. Right now you can see there's one response. Up here in the toolbar you see there's one response, and that response was my response. But if others submit it, then we'll see there's more. And I'll show you in a second what the responses look like. There's lots of other options though, as I said. I can add additional items, text, questions, paragraph text, multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list. All those. I can also add videos and images to my form. I can actually make it multiple pages. So like I fill out some questions and I hit next to go to the next page. I can do section headers, so I can give some instructions in between sets of questions if I want. So it's pretty powerful, and it's free, so you can use this without any, without having to have a subscription. It doesn't limit the number of questions or responses you can have. You can edit how, what they get, so I can change the message when I get done, what it says. I can allow people to edit their responses, and I can actually let them see the results of the form as well. Then you can see there's other options here as well. There's themes, so I can make it look cooler. If I don't like that theme, I can go with like this theme. That might be nice. In Indiana right now, it's not always the greatest weather. So I could go ahead and change that theme. And if I go to view the live form, you'll see now it's in that form, that theme. So there's lots of different things you can do there. You can also customize the themes, edit them if you want. Those are all options. So when you're ready to view the responses, there's a couple of options. Okay, as I said earlier, what it's going to do is it's going to take your whatever is submitted to this, and it dumps it into a spreadsheet. Okay, so I can click View Responses, and I can see that 2 people have submitted this. I see the time and day that they submitted it, and I see that. Let me close that extra tab, and I can see what they selected as their answer. Okay, so I can actually use this then to, do some analysis in Excel if I want, or if I just want to kind of see overview, I can actually go up here on the toolbar and I see where it says responses to, and I can view a summary of the responses. And it'll actually show me some graphs of the number of responses every day, as well as, if we had more than one response of forms, it would, show you different, it shows you a pie chart basically of the responses. And it'll plot all the questions it can this way. So if you have, like a Likert scale or something like that, it'll plot that. I think it's a chart. It'll do those different kinds of line charts. It'll do those different kinds of analysis for you, which is kind of cool. It does a lot of the work for you, which is sometimes really nice. But if you want to get in and do some custom things, you can do that as well. The other kind of cool feature for this that we use it in our department for is recording. Like we send out, we ask people to sign up for things using this tool. So, for instance, if I come down here to the mentor materials, we ask mentors to sign up for monthly meetings. And so that's actually a form as well. As you can see, this is obviously a lot longer form than the one we just created. And so you can see kind of what options people have. And as I said, that all dumps out into a spreadsheet, which then we can look at to see, who signed up. We can also filter it to look at just specific information. Like if I'm only interested in people, that signed up for a specific date, I can do that. And if I'm interested, I can actually look at the summary of responses for this as well. And you can see kind of breakdown by month which time slots and days were the most commonly selected, which is actually pretty interesting information for us to know for planning for next term. Okay, so lots of cool different things you can do with Google Forms. It's very powerful. You can do a lot of things. I'm just scratching the very topmost surface layer of what you can do. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do, especially with it reporting out to a form like that, to a spreadsheet, because you can really use the spreadsheet pretty powerfully. So are there questions? Are there other things you'd like to see that I didn't cover? Like I said, any of these you could go a lot more in depth on. I kind of just did a general overview.
I think we just need to play with it some more and encourage others to start checking it out, because it would have made the development for 123 a lot easier. It's a lot easier to share things in this than it is in Blackboard.
Most certainly, yes, definitely.
And much easier than emailing things back and forth and filling up mailboxes unnecessarily.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. So there's a lot of advantages. Like I said, if you play with it and there's something you decide later on you want to learn more about, I'm happy to meet again and work through that as well. There's a lot you can do with it, but you never know until you actually get in and play with it what your questions might be.
Yeah, so I might be emailing you when I get stuck on something then.
Sure. We have your contact information?
We just look him up on Campus Connect.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I will mention that when you share documents between people, so if I create the document and I share it with Sarah, then when Sarah logs into Google Drive the first time to find it, if I've shared it with her email address, then she finds that under the incoming tab. So my drive is where all of your documents, I should say my documents are.
Right.
But incoming is where documents that are shared with me are placed. But once they're here, so like this document right here, I can actually add that to my drive. I guess I've added all of these, but normally you'd see an icon right here that you would click on and you can add it to your drive so that it appears in your main list as well. And then that's where you'll see, when I was like in Ivy Tech, you'll see like this file here is owned by Carol Monroe. I added that to my drive so that I could access it there instead of always having to come to the second tab. So you can move them into the main area as well. So, other questions, comments?
That's very helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It's a good start. So.